Imagine you're a college professor and you're handing back the first test of the term, and one young student looks down at her grade and she immediately bursts into tears and she calls her mom on her cell phone because she's never gotten a C minus before in her life, and the next thing you know, she wants to talk to you. Elmer described this incident in a TV interview titled, "Are We Raising a Generation of Helpless Kids?" Research suggests that today's micromanaging and overprotective parents are raising children who won't be able to cope as adults in the 21st century. We're talking about helicopter parents, parents who hover. Micromanaging parents are shackling their children with so many expectations that they're robbing them of the casual, independent play they need to develop their creative problem-solving abilities. In a study he co-authored, Grubb discovered, much to his surprise, that the more involved the parent in a child's play, the less creative the child. Because the child immediately perceives that there's a right way and a wrong way and parental expectations, and it shuts the child down creatively. In his book on play, Brown describes the impact that the lack of independent play for children is having on today's employers. For example, the top engineering graduates of schools such as MIT and Stanford and Caltech were hired by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in the late 1990s to replace a large number of retiring engineers. But there was a problem. These younger engineers couldn't take a concept from the theoretical and bring it to practical application and solve all the little glitches and problems they encountered the way the older engineers could. Well, interviews revealed that these older engineers had goofed around as kids. They'd experimented and tinkered with junk. They took apart old clocks and they built soapbox derby racers, while the younger engineers had much more structured and supervised childhoods that didn't give them the freedom for just ordinary play. Now, to what extreme has micromanaging gone? Here are a couple of products and services that are promoted on the internet. The first is Aristotle's Circle, a service that evaluates and coaches children as young as 3 to help them get admitted to the most competitive New York City private schools. Now, parents can send their preschooler to a play group at Aristotle's Circle and receive copious notes to help them improve their preschooler's social skills. Now, do parents really need to teach their preschoolers how to play for success? The second is Baby Plus, a prenatal education system, a device that plays a progressively more complex curriculum of 16 rhythms to strengthen a fetus's learning abilities. Now, do parents really need to make more productive use of their baby's time, even in the womb? In addition to micromanaging, parents are shielding their children from every possible pain and failure so that they never struggle with adversity. They're never forced to develop grit. Grit is a term that Duckworth started to use in her research at the University of Pennsylvania to describe that unswerving dedication to achieving goals that she observed in people who were really accomplished in life. She developed a grit scale test with which subjects rate themselves on 12 statements such as, "I finish whatever I begin." Her grit test was a more accurate predictor of which cadets would survive the notorious Beast Barracks at West Point than the military's own whole candidate score, a sophisticated compilation of academic grades and physical fitness and leadership potential. It was a cadet's grit that counted. Why are parents so overprotective? Well, fear is certainly a big motivator. In 2008, Lenore Skenazy wrote a newspaper editorial describing how she left her 9-year-old son at Bloomingdale's with a subway map, a Metro card, a little cash, and no cell phone, and let him find his way home himself. The next thing she knew, she was all over the news above the caption, "America's Worst Mom." Now, to help overprotective parents gain perspective, Skenazy asked this question: how long would you have to leave your child unattended outdoors before your child was kidnapped by strangers and held overnight? Carnes, author of How to Live Dangerously, researched the statistics and provided this answer: 750,000 years. Are you surprised? How much is too protective? Here's a photograph of Kretschmer's published in Time magazine. Clearly it's a spoof of overprotective parents. It shows a mother wrapping her son from head to toe in bubble wrap. But here are two actual products sold on the internet. T-Knees knee pads for crawling babies and the ThudGuard baby protective safety helmet for infants learning to walk. I don't see a difference between the spoof and the reality, do you? When it comes to parenting, less is more. Parents need to control their children a little less and let them fall down and goof around a little more. Our future may depend on it. Are there any questions?
Does helicopter parenting exist only in the U.S.?
Well, not at all. In Time magazine, Gibbs reported that Scandinavians use the term curling parents to describe parents who run ahead of their children and sweep away any obstacle. And in his book, Shutting Out the Sun, Zeilenziger describes the failure of Japan's brand of helicopter parents to raise children who can adapt to Japan's changing economy and job market.
Why should I worry about overprotecting my daughter? She'll become independent when she goes away to college.
Oh, let's hope so. But in their book, The Eye-Connected Parent, Hofer and Moore report that college students are using including seniors, are using technology to communicate with their families an average of 13 times a week.
That's okay. Won't she be forced to become independent when she enters the workforce?
Well, again, let's hope so. But in a Michigan State University research brief, Gardner tells us that it's not unusual for helicopter parents to be involved even in the job recruitment process, especially at larger companies. It's up to the parents to let their children go.